Hello everyone, this is the second part of tutorial videos about inventory system and now in the last video we have stopped on the creation of a visual representation of whole container, and under whole container I understand this part with name of container, image and rows. So let's start. First let's add a canvas panel here and let's add a border. Position x to 0, y to 0, and let's make its size to 1 to 200. Set its background color to something like this, and I'm gonna add a text into this border. Text. Well, let's rename it to txt container name. Make it a variable, and instead of just text block, let's set something like container name here. I'm gonna change its font from bold to regular, size to 14, and vertical alignment to center align vertical, like this. Next, I'm gonna add an image here. It's offset to position 40 and size Y40. Make its size to 250. And I don't have an image now, so for now it's gonna be just a white square. Now I need a representation of rows. So I'm gonna add a vertical box here. Position Y40, and it should have some small offset. So its size X is 250, and let's make it 255, so offset will be 5 points. Let's change its size to look like this. For now, its size will be changed to depending on container size. So it really doesn't matter how big we will create it for now. Well, let's select vertical box, call it VB rows, make it a variable, select an image, call it EMG thumbnail, and make it also a variable. Compile, save. Now let's open event graph, delete everything, add initialized. Where is it? Again, let's add a delay of 0. And our container should receive an item, a whole item that it represents. Where is our VB container? So let's add a new variable and call it item of type BC container item. Instance editable, exposed on spawn, private, and that's all that we need. Let's save everything. So here after a delay, we're gonna get an item and get rows. Now for each row in our container, we're gonna create a widget. Oh, not construct, we're gonna create widget of type VB container row. Row goes here. Also, we have to know about cell size, so right click here, promote to variable, It will create a cell size variable. Also, let's make it instance editable, expose on spawn private. Let's set it to 35 by default. It's 35 already. So after we have created this widget, we can add it to our vertical box. We're gonna get vertical box and add child to vertical box and plug a return value to content. Compile, save. Now our vertical box will be filled with our rows that we have created that are empty now. Well, and finally, when we have a container, we can open our whole inventory and fill these vertical box containers that we have already created with our containers. Let's open an event graph and let's create event initialized. What we're gonna do here, we're gonna get inventory system, get all container items, functions that we have created, and for each item, we're gonna create a widget called VB container. Plug item into item, cell size into cell size. We're gonna get vertical box containers and add child to vertical box. And plug create newly created widget into a content. Compile and save. So now we have to present this widget. Let's open our actor component and for example, let's add a debug key tab. Just for now, here we're gonna create widget of type VB spatial inventory, in my case v2. Inventory system is gonna be self. Cell size 35 is fine. And add to viewport. So now, so on tab, only a blur is appearing. So where is it? Because why? Oh, that's because I didn't add a delay of 0 here, and if I don't add 0 here, inventory system still not exist. So now I can remove breakpoints, run it, and okay. Container is displayed, but with a cell with only one cell that is of incorrect size. Let's open a row for each child, or even I'm gonna open container cell and check what is the size that it computes. 70, 70. Well, why? Oh, it's 2 per 2, so looks like cell size is too small. Cell size is too small, so maybe let's change it to something bigger and let's write a logic. Let's change cell size in inventory from 35 to 50, for example. And let's open our VB container cell, and as we can see here, cells are separated with lines, so it is easy to define how much one per one cells it contains. So let's write logic to define it. So what we're gonna do? Let's open our container cell, and how we gonna do it? For example, for cell 1 per 2, we're not gonna draw. Oh, we have to draw a border and lines. So let's try to do that. Here in widget blueprint container cell, we have a function, and we can override a function called onPaint. So this will allow us to paint lines manually. But we have to know where do we need to paint them. We're known a cell size, and that's all that we know. So, okay, let's get a cell and get its dimensions. Let's split it and add for loop. Well, we don't need to do it on paint because on paint may be called a lot of times. We have to do it only once after it is initialized and store this information somewhere. So let's create a structure. Let's create a structure, blueprint, structure, call it as line. And every line should have start X and start Y of type float. And X and Y, and X and Y. So let's navigate back to our widget blueprint and create a new variable called, we will have horizontal lines of type as line. I'm not sure which one I'm using. Let me check, start and end. Not this one. As line. This one. And we're gonna have a vertical lines as line. And border lines also as line. Let's create a function and call it setup lines. Well, what we're gonna do here? Here we're gonna get cell, get its dimensions, split it. Add for loop from 0 to x. So if we have 1 only on x, then we have a 0 and 1. 0 and 1. No. So we have to start from 1 to dimension x minus 1. But we have to check if x is bigger than 1. Why we're doing this? Because these border lines, okay, I cannot zoom it here. These border lines are not vertical lines. They are separate. They will be stored separately in array border lines. So for vertical lines, we're gonna check only first, second, third, fourth, and we should ignore last one and first one. And for this case, we're starting our for loop from 1 and ending on -1. And in case if we have x of 1, like here for these cells, we don't have to draw anything, because if we will use such loop, it will, I'm not sure already will it give us a crash or not, but last index will be less than first index, and I think we will crash. So we have added a sequence. Let's add a branch here and check whether, let's delete it for now, whether cell dimension x is bigger than 1. If it is true, then we can add a loop, for loop, from 1 to get dimension x minus 1, like this. And here we can multiply it on the cell size to know x, to find an x coordinate. So we're gonna get cell size and multiply it on this index. It's gonna be x. So at this place we can create a line. So let's make as line. Not this, make as line. So this is gonna be a start x. Start y is gonna be 0 because now we are talking about vertical lines. Their y is always 0, so we're drawing from here to here somewhere. So what do we need to know? We need to know end x. It's gonna be the same x as start x. And we need to know end y. Well, we have to know end y. To do that, we're gonna get our, for example, we're gonna get even self or not self. We're gonna get this border. Let's call it b, cell border. Make it a variable. We're gonna get this cell border or not. I'm not sure. Let's get self as what's gonna be an and y? Maybe if we get self. Oh, and y is gonna be cell size multiplied by dimension y. So we're gonna get dimension y multiplied by cell size, like this. Let's make it a little bit cleaner. And it's gonna be and y. So this is our, after this loop we will have all vertical lines that has to be drawn. So we're gonna add this to our vertical lines array. Oops, get vertical lines and add this line. Well, now on sequence 1 we're gonna do almost the same but for horizontal lines. Let's just copy this and paste it here. Well, what should be changed? We don't need to change x because x is not used here. We're gonna check if y is bigger than 1. For case if we have only one slot like here or here, we don't have to draw any horizontal lines like this. So we're gonna check if y is greater than 1, and if it is true, then we're gonna loop through from 1 to y minus 1. again ignoring last index. Next we are multiplying. Next let's remove this. So here start x always will be 0 because we are drawing horizontal lines from here to here. This end x will be a width of our inventory. It's gonna be cell size multiplied by x. So start x is 0 and x is gonna be x multiplied by cell size and x. Well, start y is gonna be this for each loop multiplied by cell size, and y is gonna be the same as start y. So vertically it's not changed, and we're gonna add it to horizontal lines. Now we have to add the last thing that we have to do is to add border lines, and we're gonna just set border lines, make array. It's gonna have 4 lines. Let's make them manually. First line is gonna be, I'm gonna start from a top. This line is gonna have start position 0, 0, 0, 0, and end position 0y, but x is gonna be a width of container. So end x is gonna be, let's copy cell dimensions, x multiplied by cell size. It's gonna be end x. Duplicate it. Next line is gonna be this vertical line. It's gonna have x of width, y of start y of 0, and end y of height, and end x is the same as start x. So start x is gonna be the same as end x, a width of container. Start y is gonna be 0, and end y is gonna be dimension y multiplied by cell size. Dimension y multiplied by cell size. Okay, duplicate first again. Next line is gonna be the same as the first line, but it's gonna be at the bottom. So the only thing that will change is start y and end y. In first case they were zeros, and now they're gonna be a height of our container. So we're gonna multiply y by cell size, and it's gonna be a start y and end y. And for third line, let's duplicate it again. Last line is gonna be our vertical line. Its start x is gonna be start x and start y gonna be 0, and end x gonna be 0, and end y is gonna be height. So instead of start x, we're gonna multiply y instead of x on cell size and plug it into end y. So now our lines are set up. We have to call it from event on initialized at the end. Oh, not like this. Stop lines. So now we can open paint on paint function, and here we can draw. So let's add the sequence. And first we're gonna draw horizontal lines. Let's get horizontal lines, add for each loop. Like this. So for each of them, we're gonna break a line. We have start x, y, and we're gonna call draw line. We have to provide a context. Context is an input parameter of onPaint function, so we can just get context. We can provide a tint color. We can promote it to variable and call it HL tint, like horizontal light tint color. Also, we can provide a line thickness. Also, I'm going to promote it to variable and call it HL line thickness. Also, there are a lot of variables here. Let's put them into some category and call it lines. So HL tint goes here, HL line thickness, and horizontal lines, vertical lines, and border lines goes here. Okay, now we have to give a position A and B for our draw line function. But for example, let me start. Nothing is drawn, really. Nothing is drawn because coordinates are incorrect. It is drawn. Okay, well, let me set it like this. For example, start x goes here, start y goes here, and the same for end x and end y. And let's see where it will be drawn. Well, it's drawn correctly because our borders didn't move. So, well, for now it's fine, I think, but no, everything is correct. So we have drawn horizontal lines. Now let's do the same for vertical lines. We're gonna do the same. Instead of horizontal lines, we're gonna use vertical lines. And instead of, and the only thing that we have to change is HL tint and HL thickness, because we may want to have different colors for horizontal and vertical lines, like in Tarkov. That depends on you. So I'm gonna promote to variable and call it VL tint, move it into lines, and the same with for thickness, VL thickness, move it here. So now, and the last thing that we have to do, we're gonna do the same for border lines. And again, promote to BL tint and BL thickness. And don't forget to return from a function here, like this. And let's move everything a little bit. Well, now let's tap some colors so that it will look a little bit prettier. So now if we start, it will look like this. So as you can see, it has created us a grid 2 by 2 as we have provided in our component. For example, where is our component? Oh, here it is. As we have provided in default container dimensions, we have put it 2 per 2, and if we'll put 5 per 5, for example, it will draw us something like this. Well, but I would like to change the colors a little bit. So for border, color is fine, but for vertical lines, I'm going to decrease the thickness from 1 to 0.3. And for horizontal lines, I'm going to change a color to black, as in Tarkov. Well, it doesn't look that pretty as in Tarkov because, as you can see, it's not only have a solid background, it has a gradient, a little gradient image behind every cell, but we don't have it, so we're working with it. Okay. Now, where is my cell? I'm gonna change the color to 0.2. Well, okay. Let's open our widget blueprint container here, and we have set it up our grid, but we haven't set up our image and title. So let's open our event on initialized, and here on completed of for each loop, we're gonna get an item, get name, wait, get title. Oh, I think that we haven't created function. Open BC container item, and we didn't create a function to get a name. So I'm gonna duplicate get rows, call it get name, and it's gonna return us a name. Duplicate it, get thumbnail. Instead of name, it's gonna return us a thumbnail. And for now, that's fine. We will let get thumbnail rotated a little bit later. So let's open our VB container again. We're gonna call get name from an item, get txt container name, and set text like this. Well, not that good. Let's open our container item, get name, remove it from here, and change type of name from name to text. It will be easier for us in future to work with it. So now name has type of text and not a name. I'm sorry, I forgot which type text renderer use. So item get name and plug it into text. And the same for a thumbnail. We're gonna get item, get thumbnail, get image thumbnail, and set brush from material. And plug thumbnail here. Okay. Well, none. It prints me none. Why it prints me none? Let me open spatial inventory system and initialize secret pocket. Name secret pocket. Enter. Compile. Save. Returns. Name. Well, why it is printed now? Oh, yes. Don't forget to change what I have changed in a component in initialize function. Well, what we're gonna do now, I think we'll finish this video now and we will continue in the next one. Thanks for watching, hope it will help someone.